This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
We are excited to have our mental health therapist, Reiki master as well, and it's Energy Wise Wellness. Corine, Patti joining us live today again to talk more about all the services she provides and, of course, how she's here to help you through so many things. How are you today, hun?
I'm great. How are you, Jill?
Great. Pleasure to have you back. And for those
Thank
new
you.
time listeners out there, just tell us a little overview about, your business and what it is you do.
Sure. So I'm a clinical social worker and mental health therapist. I'm also a certified clinical trauma professional and a Reiki master as well. So my business is Energy Wise Wellness, and it focuses on a holistic modality to ensure that we are treating ourselves mind, body, and soul, so the whole person, and bringing everything into balance, energetic alignment. All of my sessions are telehealth,
Mhm.
and I use different evidence-based practices in my sessions with clients. I treat individuals, groups, couples, families, and I do the Reiki as well. So I combine the Reiki if the client would like it. I can do the mental health therapy separately and the Reiki separately as well, or we can do the Reiki in sessions.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. We're excited to hear and again to talk more about these telehealth mental health therapy practice that you have. And again, using this Reiki therapy and so much more. There's a lot to all the services you provide. And for today, I think you wanted to kind of start off with the energy wise wellness overview and get into the holistic side, right?
Sure. So I just a little more about the populations that I treat. I treat adolescents and adults, and I also specialize in trauma and substance abuse. And I will also work with the LGBTQ plus populations and neurodivergent communities as well. So yes, so let's get into our first topic here on this podcast series is going to be about building foundations for mental health, right?
Please. Thank
So
you.
yes, so really planting those seeds, nurturing them, seeing them grow so we can thrive, mind, body, and soul. So
Beautiful.
I want to, yes, so I want to start out with a little bit of psychoeducation, right? Because we need to educate ourselves to expand and obviously always take everything with a grain of salt and follow your intuition. Think about
Mhm.
what rings true for you, what feels good for you. So you're going to know yourself better than anybody else if you look within and ask yourself the question. So building foundations for mental health, we really have to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, this is a pyramid that is stacked with physical health on the bottom. So, we need this foundation, right, for anything. We need our physical health. We
Okay.
need to we need to be we need air, we need water, we need sleep, we need food, we need exercise,
Yeah.
all types of different health. So really building off that foundation, and then the next level is the security, the need for safety, shelter, stability. So that's going to be in our homes, and things like that with our finances and managing all of that. So the next level is social, the need to be loved, belonging, inclusion, finding that community, having that support. We all need support. And then the next level after that is the ego, the need for self-esteem, power, recognition, and prestige. So once we build this pyramid, we get to a certain level. And at the tippy top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-actualization. So where we come to the need for development, creativity, we can delve into our higher selves at that point. We've reached our potential to get there. So that's what it's all about.
Beautiful. All right. Thank
Yes,
you so much.
yes.
And making and breaking these habits. We're going to talk about programming and being conditioned or rehardwired, as you say.
Yes. So at this point of actualization, right, this is important to me because we want to be able to work with our own light and really see our own light and love ourselves, you know. So as I was saying before, social work has a theory of person and environment.
Mm-hmm.
So that is assessing where the person is and how they're functioning in different social environments, different avenues. So in your work environment, with your family, with your school, and different things like that. So we kind of have to assess how the person's interacting with their environment and how the environment is receiving them as well. And if there's things that they want to change, you know. So because let's get into conditioning a little bit from there, right? So our brains are like a computer. We are conditioned over time and we're hardwired. So, from however old we are, that's how many years you've been conditioned for. So, it's going to come from societal constructs, our family constructs, and expectations and values and things like that. And then the way we perceive those types of things, the way we process that. You know, we'll get into core beliefs and stuff in a further podcast where we're going to delve into the roots of all of that stuff, which is interesting. So we
Mm.
need to see how we're hardwired like a computer. Our brains are hardwired at that point, conditioned over time. You keep walking that path in your brain, you're going to solidify that habit. So assessing the current programming and starting to become consciously aware of your habits. When I start to work with clients, I always start with self-awareness and awareness of self-talk. So a lot of times this becomes very automatic because of this conditioning, right? We go into autopilot. How many times have you driven and you're like, where am I? Where's the exit? Wait a second. But you're safe because you know how to drive, but you went into this autopilot. So we do that every day. And it's kind of like a self-preservation type of thing. And that's why we need to be present, because when we're in autopilot, we're not technically present, you know? So noticing all these autopilots and which ones we want to intervene in, but sometimes we don't know that it's happening. So when we start to become consciously aware, you start to see more of these things. So now you're thinking about, what am I thinking about?
Yeah.
What are my habits? What is not serving me in my life? What do I really like? You know, so we have to assess those things and see where we want to reprogram this programmed brain and recondition it to make it what we want it to be, not what it's kind of just done over the years in a way.
Got it. Yeah.
So, so then at this point, you know, we need to see what kind of structure we can create for ourselves and what kind of routines do we want to prepare. So once again, we're going to go with the physical, the mental, and the spiritual because we want to do it on all levels to really treat the whole person, the whole human, right? We have all these various aspects of ourselves. And so the physical, I was saying before, are you drinking enough water and clean water? No plastics in there, filtered in some kind of way. Are we having enough sleep, right? A lot of times when we don't get enough sleep, we're dragging ourselves through the day. Our mental health is not going to be good. Our physical health is not going to be good. So the basic. So I always assess where a person is. Have you had your yearly physical? Where is your blood work at? But we're going to get more into that in the next podcast on physical health. We're going to go all through those different aspects of that.
Awesome.
So yes, so we have to see how, you know, we exercising and what are our self-care routines also, our hygiene and just regular self-care, how we're treating ourselves and things like that. So then the mental piece of it is so then we're gonna do that, we're gonna reprogram those routines how we want them through new consistency. And we'll get into that in further podcasts as well. The mental piece is that cognitive restructuring, right? Where is the hardwiring? What am I saying to myself? Is it nice? You know, how do I perceive different things? You know, is it coming from my defenses or is it coming from my ego protecting
Yep.
myself? You know, so we have to evaluate, and that's where that self-awareness comes into play. So the first job of anyone that's going to be working on themselves is going to be the self-awareness and really accepting ourselves and forgiving ourselves for the parts that maybe aren't our favorite, per
Mm-hmm.
se, and embracing our strengths. I come very much from a strengths-based perspective. A lot of people look at the negative things. We want to focus on those strengths and work with them. So, and we'll work more with how do you do the cognitive restructuring? How do you put in those self-talk interventions to create this new path in your brain that you're going to walk down? Because the brain has that neuroplasticity. We're hardwired, but we can change it. That's how we take our power back. We don't have to be a victim of our circumstances. We can say, well, what's in my control is how I'm going to think, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to feel, and that's taking our power back. So cognitive restructuring, we'll get more into that in the cognitive behavioral therapy piece of the episodes. And then the spiritual, developing the spiritual awareness, developing a
Yeah.
spiritual self-care practice.
Ah.
Yes, yes. So, what might be, for example, Jill, what might be a spiritual practice that you would think of that might be helpful for people?
Well, spiritual as in, I guess my version or spiritual might be different from someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is even right, but like, I don't know. I miss my mom, and to me, she's a spirit. She's out there, so I want to like connect with her, and like,
Yeah.
I still talk to her, and
Yes.
I feel like I communicate with her. Do I really know if I am or not? I really don't know, but yeah,
Right.
but
Right.
spiritually, I feel connected to her.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Right.
do.
Right. Right. And that's also support, right? Because a
Okay.
lot of times we don't get the support that we need here in the physical world. So when we believe in something bigger than ourselves, in this energetic existence of things, we pray to that, or we put our intentions towards that, or we ask for guidance, or it's just nice to just connect and just talk to whatever's out there that's supporting us. So and just you said it perfect before when you said you're your own person, you have your own definition of spirituality. You might not even call it spirituality,
Yeah.
right? But it's something that speaks to you on a higher level, that calls to your spirit, that calls or it calls to your energy. Really, your energy is guided towards that. So we really need to use our intuition to see what types of spiritual routines and habits that we can get into that are going to be healthy for us. But we want to try different things. We not everything's going to be for us. So we want to maybe try meditation, or try a breathwork class, or try Tai Chi or yoga, or just sitting quietly in nature or something like this. So all these different routines really, this is what I do in Energy Wise Wellness. We assess all of these different things, and I really start where the client is and help to mold their treatment plans and coping plans and all of this towards what they want to improve. How do they want to change their functioning in their environment, and heal these different parts of the self and bring them into energetic alignment.
Oh, wow. We got to remind
Yeah.
everyone who we're talking to, please, at the moment. I just want them to know Corine Patti is here, and from Energy Wise Wellness. She's talking today, obviously, about, well, so much, but including her Reiki and her mental health therapy and all the healing that can be done. And excited that she's here. And as far as, today's show, clearly, this is exciting. We're talking more about some of our holistic needs and how you're able to program, reprogram, change things. And, really, I dive in. I want to find out more even about these treatment plans in a sense and coping plans too.
Sure, sure. Okay, so once I work with a client, I'll assess, have a little assessment in the beginning, and I'll meet with them a few times, and we'll start talking loosely about what the structure of things is going to look like. But then we sit and we create a treatment plan. So I'll share my screen with them. I have a little template that I made there, and we work on it together. I help guide them through it. So we think about what's the treatment plan is going to be the goals that you're working on, and the treatment is the treatment of you. So the first part is creating the main mental health goal, or the main goal for the sessions, whatever it might be. So it could just be very simple as I want to be happy, and that's it. Right? We don't have to get too much into it there. Some people have longer versions. I always try to shift it to positive language, right? People might say, I don't want to be anxious anymore. And okay, well, that's a good goal to have. How can we shift it and shift the words, right? Because we create spells with our words. So we want to be careful the words that we're using, shift our words to make it strengths perspective and make it healthier and positive. So it makes us feel good when we say it. So instead of, I don't want to have so much anxiety, it might be, I want to be able to notice and regulate my emotions and be calm,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that would be the shift with that. So now you have your main goal, and this person's working on being calm, regulating their emotions here. So the main things that I put in treatment plans, and it doesn't have to be for anyone, everyone. It varies with different individuals and things like that. But the main things that I put in there are things with the cognitive restructuring, how we going to shift our thoughts and all the different things, have healthier perspectives, healthier self-talk, and then the coping skills, the self-care. How are we going to nurture ourselves back to health? What are the routines that we're going to do? How are we going to put those in? How are we going to cope with triggers that come up? What's our regular self-care routines? What's your morning routine? What's your evening routine? What's your hygiene routine? Things like that. So the next one I love to put in there, because we all need them, boundaries, right? We need boundaries. And a lot of times, especially if you are a kind-hearted person, sometimes people struggle with boundaries, right? Because they become people pleasers. We don't want to upset anybody. I'm not going to say anything. But then we dim our light. We shut our voices down. And sometimes we build resentment, which is one of the most unhealthy emotions to have. So we don't want to do that. We want to be able to speak our voice and set our boundaries in a calm way. The thing is that people don't even know what their boundaries are. So they might be like, what is a boundary? I don't even know what the boundary is. And we can
Yeah.
delve into it and figure it out. Well, where do you feel uncomfortable? Maybe that's where the boundary needs to be. So really figuring out with the client what boundaries need to be put in place and how do we communicate those boundaries in a calm manner, right? Because sometimes the boundaries come out when we're super duper upset and then we're in fight or flight and now we have no filter and we're spewing it all. And then we feel bad about it after. And then we guilt and shame ourselves. And this is no good for our programming. This is all very unhealthy habits that we need to be aware of so we can intervene on them.
Interesting.
So, yes, so boundaries are not only for other people, they're also for ourselves as well.
Got
So
it.
we need boundaries for ourselves. We need to use consequential thinking, meaning I could do this said thing. What's going to happen as a result? One of my clients once said, play the tape. Play the tape. What's going to happen at the end of that tape? Do you like the result that you might get? Then maybe we need to shift here in how we're going to respond to the situation so we
Mm.
don't feel yucky after certain things, you
Hmm.
know? and respecting others as well. So having our own self boundaries, really being our own parent
Yeah.
and giving ourselves that structure and saying this thought is not healthy. We can't do this anymore. We're going to use this thought. And then I'll always help the client come up with some kind of healthy thought intervention that they're going to use every time that unhealthy thought comes up to create the new programming. It takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So you have to be consistent with the new habit and with breaking the old habit. So you might want to replace the old habit with the new healthy habit. So the brain can start to change within 3-4 days, something like this. But they say at least 21 days, but it's more than that. Try for at least a month, right? And then you have this habit set and you have to keep on it because guess what? That old programming, it wants to creep back in. It really,
Mm.
really does because we're very hardwired in that way.
Oh my
So we
gosh.
we need to keep up with it. We need to keep refreshes and do things for ourselves to remind us of the things that we're learning and what we want to do in our lives. Yes.
Well, it just puts you at ease, at least me, knowing that we could start moving, start changing, start rewiring in a sense, and living
Yes.
a better life. And wow. And yeah, I know, you mentioned, boundaries, right?
Yep.
Can I ask, why is it so hard that most people can't? We want boundaries in our lives. When it comes to family, I find it's very difficult. What are some of the ways we can improve on, putting up our boundaries without feeling like we're doing a bad thing?
Right, right. A lot of times with family, there's a lot of obligations and expectations. And then if
Hmm.
you don't go in line with certain obligations, expectations, then you're maybe not overtly, but kind of covertly guilted and shamed, and then that makes us feel bad. So we don't want to put in the boundary. We just keep following the rules and we don't say anything. So at the same time, we're allowed to be our own person. And
Yeah.
our families need to respect that we are our own person. And you also don't have to attend any argument you're invited to. So if someone tries to pull you into something, you can always say, I don't want to talk about this right now. Let's talk about it when we're calm or at another time. You can disengage if you need to disengage. If things are escalating, you must disengage. You must take a break. So that's the thing. People fear the conflict. They don't want to say anything. They don't want things to escalate. Maybe things have escalated in the past. They don't want to see a repeat of that, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Wow. And
Yes,
could you
yes.
could you do you want to share a client story or two before we go? I love hearing how you're helping people cope and change in a sense,
Let's see, let's see. Wow.
or even for yourself. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yes, yes. Well, I'll give the example that I gave in the previous podcast here when I was working in outpatient substance abuse and mental health. I'll use myself as an example.
Sure.
And I'm a giver, I'm a helper. If I see someone that needs help, I want to be there for them. And I really loved doing that work there. I was really able to enhance my clinical experience. During the pandemic, though, it got really, really hard because I was an essential worker and there was some tough things going on at the job as
Hmm.
well. And I wasn't feeling well mentally. So I needed some kind of boundary to separate myself because the job was draining me. As much as I loved it, I was really, really drained and really scared at that time, right? There was so many other things going on in the world that could make you cry at a drop of a hat, really, because it was so overwhelming. So, so with that, first of all, not watching the news as much, still sending thoughts and prayers to people for their healing and things, because that is in our control. We can send positive vibes instead of worry vibes. That doesn't help anybody, you know? And
Hmm.
then my thing was that I needed to amp up my coping skills as I had previously said. And I really started meditating hardcore. I was meditating for 20 minutes a day in my car on my lunch breaks. I was actually taking a lunch break, instead of working through it also. That's a boundary. We need boundaries with work. We need to take a break. We don't have to plow through everything.
No.
We just stay with that. We just stay in this escalated state, and then cortisol is pumping into our bodies and adrenaline, and that's good if there's a lion and you got to get out of there because the lion wants to eat you. But a lot of times we intellectualize that danger, and we're streaming the cortisol into our bodies constantly, and that depletes our minds, that depletes our physical bodies, our spiritual bodies, and we don't want that. We need to reverse that and do things that make us feel good, that bring about the elevation hormones, the serotonin, the dopamine, the oxytocin. We want to bring more of that, once again, in our control. We can do that by exercising or meditating or just being present. You can make a mindfulness activity out of anything. I do mindfulness when I'm washing the dishes. So I'm just there washing the dishes in that zone, shutting everything else off or
Got
listening
it.
to something really positive at the same time.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
that's a daily self-care also, right? So we need to figure out what is making us feel not good and figure out what boundaries we need to put in and coping skills we need to put in and thoughts we need to put in to help ourselves feel better.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Well, if someone does want to reach out to you, how can we contact you?
So you can contact me at my website at energywisewellness.com, and my email is energywisewellness@gmail.com.
Oh, you got cut off at the end?
No,
One more time? Can you hear me?
energywisewellness@gmail.com
Yes.
and energywisewellness.com.
The .com. I couldn't hear the .com. Okay, perfect. And
Sorry about that.
oh no, it's okay. It could have been on my end. It just glitched. So also if someone does want to reach out, is there like a complimentary consultation? Is there a fee for the first chat or?
Sure. I always offer a complimentary consultation, at least 15 minutes to make sure that I'm a right match with the client and
Yep.
for them to ask me any questions that they possibly have. And, I'm very, very open to that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Enjoy the cooler weather here on the island. And
Same. Thank you so
we'll
much,
talk
Jill.
again. Coming up in how many weeks are we back?
So we're back in 2 weeks on July 10th at 11:30, and we're going to focus
And
on physical health.
perfect. Good. I didn't want to forget that. Thank you again.
Appreciate it.
Bye, Corine.
Thank
Bye.
you. Okay, bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.